Hello and welcome back to another Microvellum Live event. My name is Clay and we are glad that you are here with us today. We are streaming live here from our headquarters office in Southern Oregon on this 29th day of November 2017. In case this is the first time that you've joined us for a live event, we host these free educational sessions weekly for our users and for those who are just curious about our solution and how it might help them in their business. We are streaming on two platforms today for your convenience. We are here on Zoom. This is our webinar platform as well as our YouTube live stream. You can ask a question at any time on either platform. You can simply click that green Q&A button here in the Zoom navigation panel to type your question or use the comments area. You can also use the comments area on YouTube. We have techs helping out behind the scenes to get you the answers you need on both platforms. We are also recording this event, and it will be available within the next couple days on our website and our help center as well. And if you haven't done so already, I encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel to receive notifications on future live events. So today we're going to be discussing a topic that has come up quite a bit, actually a frequent request from our performance polling. It is the topic of drafting, and many of you tuned in today already are Microvellum users and you're here to pick up some best practices, or maybe even you're here today because you haven't fully embraced the tools that we have in our solution for drafting. Either way, you are in for a treat today because we have invited Joe Rubio, a longtime user of Microvellum and current service tech out of the New York area. So welcome back, Joe.
Hi, how's it going?
Hey, pretty good. So Joe, thanks a lot for helping signing on to help us with this. This is going to be a great topic for many of these users who are out there. So how long has it been now? How long have you been a Microvellum user?
I've actually been a Microvellum user for 9 years.
Yeah,
and I've used 6.7 and version 7 as well.
Yeah, time sure goes by fast. Doesn't seem like 9 years, but I guess it has been.
Yeah.
So out of those 9 years, 9+ years probably, how many of those years did you spend drafting? How much of that time was drafting?
Well, I've been using AutoCAD for drafting for 13 years, but I was a Microvellum user and drafter for that full 9 years. For the past 2 years, I've obviously been working at Microvellum, but also I do shop drawings 2 days a week for another company.
Mm-hmm. And so I think you mentioned that you had 2 years of schooling for drafting in AutoCAD?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went to college for 2.5 years to learn general drafting using AutoCAD.
And so when you decided or when you got introduced to Microvellum, you were using plain Jane vanilla AutoCAD for drafting and you went to school for that. And then you got introduced to what we offered there in version 6.7 for the drafting tools. What was your impressions? What was your feelings on the tools that you had based off of what you had before just in using regular AutoCAD?
Well, it really took it from they're great tools, and it really took it from just using AutoCAD to draw things, and now using Microvellum, you can actually manufacture things. Instead of just showing somebody how to build something, you give them an end product that they can use. They can use, and that G-code is so much more powerful than any lines that you put on a drawing, and then they have to interpret it.
Right. So we've the ability to basically take that redundant process of even redrawing or even going further into a product list and adding those products in. It's actually contains all the information needed for manufacturing, and that's the definite benefit that we offer there on our solution.
Mm-hmm.
So that's great, and I cannot wait to see what you have prepared for us today. And so without any further delay, I'll let you get on with it.
All right.
The demonstration today.
Thank you very much. So the first thing I have up here is a normal drawing. It's non-annotative, nothing special. This is out of the box. I'm using the latest build and version 46.2, just in case there's differences from what you've seen or what you're currently getting. That could be why, is your either product version or your library version. So what I have here is just a normal elevation, dropped in a few cabinets all the way across. This is plain Jane stuff. I've used SCL, the SCL command, to set my scale for my drawings. And that's the normal way that everybody's been doing it ever since 6.7. So you're probably used to switching these up, drawing them in, putting them at whatever scale you need to, and then redrawing your cabinets. But at that point, if you go to your elevation views and you get an elevation that's probably bigger than the one that I have here, and you need to scale it down or change size. Right now I'm using 3/8, so I'm going to go down to yeah. So if you had to go down, then your text would not be the correct size. And that's one of the things that really sets a professional draft apart from a print that's made by somebody that's probably new at the craft. So all of your text should be the same size on your page. So the way that typically you would fix that is by redrawing these on the new scale. And that works just fine, but it takes extra time and extra effort because you have to redraw every single one of your products. And also on top of that, if you have a view that you are showing in two different locations, say on two different pages or even on the same page, that you want to show it at two different scales, what you would have to do in order to get both of those to show up is copy these, make basically a separate dimension, change what layer it's on, and then use layer management tools to get one to show up in one viewport and one to show up in the other viewport. That's how everybody used to do it, is that you would have some that are set to a certain text height and they're on one layer, and then you have others that are set to a different text height and they're on a different layer, and you just use layer management tools to separate out which ones are supposed to show in each viewport. So it is possible to do that, and that's what a lot of companies are probably doing right now. But there is an advanced tool called Annotative Scaling that we have integrated into our software to make it, this is an AutoCAD feature, this Annotative Scaling. We've integrated into Microvellum, so the Microvellum intelligently knows how to use Annotative Scaling and makes it available to you. So I've taken that exact same room and I have it here, but what I'm going to do is go into Toolbox Setup and turn on AutoCAD Use Annotative Scaling. And under Setup Text, everything is using the annotative text style. So we're good to go there. And what I'm going to do is just redraw all of these same cabinets right back on the wall. But instead of using the normal text style and the normal dimension style, this time it's going to use an annotative text style. I got 12 cabinets, so it'll just take a minute.
So Joe, while that's drawing there, maybe for some of those who are new to Microvellum or might be checking it out for the first time, where do those products come from?
Well, they were in the library, and the first time I drew it, I just placed it at the location where I wanted to put them. Mm-hmm. And that was how I created the first drawing. But for this second one, I'm redrawing them from the database because everything about your cabinet and all of the dimensions, every detail about it is saved in your database, the Microvellum database. So if at any time something gets erased from your drawing, you can always redraw it from the database.
Right, and so the difference from maybe in the beginning when we were talking about your experience without Microvellum, just plain Jane vanilla, this might have just been simple 2D lines representing this. And so here we are pulling directly from a library where you can go through and define what the prompts are, how the product's made, things like that, and how they're to be constructed. And so
exactly, and that's another great feature about this setup is that it is intelligent and parametric, and our entire library is based on parametric values. So anytime something changes in the database, it re-changes in the library or on your drawing, and you update that drawing, and it works perfectly. All right, so looks like I've got some extra text, and I'll just get rid of that real quick. Okay. So what has happened here is that Microvellum has gone through and it's used what's called the annotation scales of the drawing. There's a lot of them. You can trim this list down to just the ones you use. Right here we have all of the metric scales as well as the imperial scales. So you can trim down this list to just the scales you actually use. But what it does is it creates a version of this object on every scale that it's going to, on every scale that's available in your scale list. So this is basically, it's a list of all the possible scales that you might use in your drawings. So if you trim it down, it's going to be simpler. But what is available, you can see here that all of those different text sizes are available to see. So you're only seeing the one that I'm currently on, 3/8, but all the others are available as well. So if I switch to half, all of my text, everything, all of the labels, everything adjusts. And now looking at it, it is everything on the text is sized for 1/2" scale. So for instance, that may benefit you if you are, so I'll go ahead and show the for instance of that I was talking about earlier, where you have two that you want to have on the same page. So I'm going to copy this viewport over here. Also, I should mention that I'm using Paperspace. Not all companies have moved from ModelSpace to Paperspace, but that is the recommended way and the way that AutoCAD is moving forward with setting things up for plotting to pages, plotting your sheets. Okay, so for instance, if you were trying to zoom in on this cabinet without annotative scaling, you'd zoom in and this 18 here would be very, very large, and it wouldn't look professional. So with annotative scaling, when you zoom in, the 18, all the item labels, all of this text resizes so that it's readable, but it's also not too large. You can show things like details without redrawing or copying them out. So I know some other ways to solve this problem or to make this issue work is to copy something over here and then maybe even scale it up. But using viewports and using annotative scaling, you don't have to have a separate copy of the objects that you're working with, because these are dumb lines now. Those are blocks and lines. All of the benefits of using Microvellum that we talked about earlier, about it updating automatically when you change any of the prompts or when you're working with it, this object over here is just dumb lines, and they won't update if I change something on this. So next thing. Okay, so when you select this, you notice that you see all of the scales that you want, but all of the scales that are available for this object. But as I said, if you trim down the list, there will be less available. Also, you can use selection and a display to hide clutter, but that's just an AutoCAD option that you can set to 0. And then when you select things, you only see the version that you're currently looking at. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. All right. So moving right along. Okay. All right. Okay. Another thing that's very helpful about using this method of scaling is that line types also. So far I've only mentioned text, but if you look at the elevation view, you can also see that the line types have scaled, and they are appropriate because these lines, I mean, the farther you zoom out, the smaller the dashes and the dots would get, and you would be much harder to see. Okay. All right. Okay. So that's a basic overview of annotative scaling, and why it is so helpful. Go
Hey,
ahead.
Joe.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a couple questions. Actually, there's a lot of questions, a lot of chat going on right now. And I think our guys are helping out with that. But there's some questions, and I don't mean to spring these on you, but if there's, I think Matthew has a good one about paper sizes. And then there's another one that Christopher was asking about the ADJ text that usually shows up.
Yeah. Yes, there's a bug in the library that we have reported and is going to get fixed. But the ADJ text was still using a non-annotative text style, so it was showing up rather large.
I see.
It wasn't scaling for annotative scaling, but if you were to change the text style to an annotative text style, then it would come in properly. But it's improperly referencing something that's not an annotative text style, so it came in much larger than it should.
Yeah, just a simple fix there, sounds like.
Okay, so the common paper sizes really depends on your plotter, but what I have here, page setup manager, yeah, 8.5 by 11 is just what I've used in the regular drafting environment. Then 8.5 by 11 for just review prints, and then 11 by 17 for some field prints, because you don't want to take, well, I mean, some people are used to taking 36 prints out there, but 24 by 36 prints out there, but in general, it's easier for an installer to carry around 11 by 17. So those are the three that I've used, is 8.5 by 11 for just our own internal checks and not using a whole lot of paper, and then 11 by 17 for final prints, and 24 by 36 if you're submitting it or if you want to keep a really good shop copy. Okay. All right. So the item numbers, I'm looking in the chat a little bit. The item numbers, they look pretty good to me as far as the sizing.
Yeah, that question was from Dustin. He asks, why do the item numbers not scale correctly to the box size? Oh,
that could be, that could just be to fill the box size. That's, yeah, that seems just like an issue in the block. It's not necessarily something to do with the annotative scaling. It does look a little bit maybe taller, not quite as wide as it usually is, but yeah, it still fits in there. Okay. Let me go to elevation views. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, these ones are working just fine. I haven't seen that before with the ones over here on this other elevation view. Looks like oh, you know what? That is an @sync. It's an attribute sync error, which use Batman to fix. That should fix it. Block attribute manager. In any case, what this goes really well hand in hand with is the sheet set manager. It's very similar to SSM, but sheet set manager is a tool that AutoCAD has developed in order to help with setting up large sheet sets for large projects. Personally, I recommend it for companies that have a large set of drafters, and they want to split up the workload between engineers and people that do the layouts on the pages. So I've got a sample sheet set laid out for us. Just set it up for the SSM demo, and maybe you've seen some of the demonstrations that we've done at our TechCon, or some of the demos that we've recorded for our website. But we have sample sheet sets and projects that you can look at. What I've done with this sheet set demo is set up properties such as cabinet finishes, countertop finishes, and custom sheet set properties. Set it all up so that it can take values that we enter here and apply them to the title block, similar to the project properties interface in the project setup. So some of you may be aware that in the project properties, you can enter values here, and it will populate. Every time you hit the update button, it'll populate all of your title blocks. Well, AutoCAD has a similar feature with Sheet Set Manager. You're able to enter properties and enter values and have them populate to either blocks or to your title block. So what I've done is set that up so that we can enter a few values in here. So we'll hit white, black, teal, and then do some granite, sandstone, something like that. Just a few finishes, and we'll hit OK. And then what we're going to do is use the drawings that we've created here to import into that sheet set and set those up. So we create a new view. It's just going to be our plan view. And then I'm going to create a new view. It's going to be our elevation. Okay. And then the part of what Sheet Set Manager does is it allows you to have your engineers focus on the drafting portions of the project. They insert all of the cabinets, they draw up all the layouts, and then they can focus on that, and you get the most experienced people to do that, the Microvellum users, and then you get the people that are less experienced or more AutoCAD focused, and they do this portion of the work where they set up new sheets. Okay, plan views, drawing template file should be a new sheet here. Drawing template file name. Okay, so I've got all of my templates set up here, Imperial Sheet Set template. Okay, then I've got the page sizes. I'm going to pick 11 by 17. And then I'm going to enter the sheet title. This is Plan Views. And open it in the drawing editor. Okay, so what this interface gives me is a new DWG. And what it does is allows somebody to do all of the paper space work in a separate drawing. And when you go to Model Views, and I set up this new location for this job, Sheet Set Manager, Factor Database, Sheet Set Manager, Demo. Okay. Okay, so now I can see the list of the drawings that I've already done. And within the drawing that we've already done, I set up a view that I didn't actually save. Let me save the drawing. And now it will show up in the views. Refresh. Oh, there it is, refresh. Okay, so now I have a new plan view that I can drag and drop onto my sheet page. Okay, when I do that, it comes in at a specific scale, and it uses the name of the view that I set up earlier, plan, as the title for this elevation block. It also has intelligently hyperlinked the scale of this viewport to this title block. So if I was to change the scale here to 3/8 and then regenerate, it updates the scale for this view. It also keeps track of a list of what sheets you've created and what views are on them. And it keeps it will lock them out. If somebody has it open, then nobody else that's accessing the same sheet set, they'll all see that, and they know that they cannot open it without it being read-only. So I'm going to right-click, rename, renumber, and the plan is going to be numbered 1, and if I wanted to rename it, I could do so as well. Plan view, and then when you regenerate, it updates all pages. So this plan view, that is laid out. Everything looks great. It's good. It's not quite good to go, but you know, I would want to mess around with it or do some more graphic design type layout and features. But that's one of the main things that you have to get everything onto the page and move it forward. Okay, so so you're good to go as far as dragging and dropping and putting everything onto the page. There's a lot of that saves a lot of work in the long run, and it splits up the workload so that your engineers can continue to work on what they do best, and then your drafters or graphic designers can work on just doing the layouts and making them look good for the client or for whoever it is that's going to submit it. So we've got one set of sheets, or one sheet for your plan view, and we could do another separate sheet for the elevation view. So we'll do a new sheet for elevation views. Let's hit that template again. Okay, we'll create another 11 by 17, and we'll call this elevations. Okay. And then on our model views again, we have the option to drag and drop an elevation in here. This time I'm going to, you see how it popped up and it says right click to change scale? You can change the scale at the time of insertion, and you can pick from anything on your scale list. So this time I'm going to pick 1/4 inch right off the bat, drop it in, move it around, and done. I've got a block, got a name. Then one of the least professional or one of the irritating things that happen a lot when you're drafting is that you get a new sheet that shows up in the middle of your sheet list, and then you have to renumber all of your pages. Well, with typical drawings, you have to come through and set the page on each sheet. You have to open each sheet in order to set that up. So I'm going to Sheet Set Manager. I'm going to go to the sheet list, and what I'm going to do is right click and rename renumber. So at this point I can set the page number. So 1-101. Okay. And if I go back to this plan view, I don't have to have this open, but but I can show you that it gets a sheet number by having it open and hitting the refresh. So A101 has opened up, refreshed, it's got a page number now. But like I said, if you had it closed and then you went to plot it later, AutoCAD does a refresh every time you open a drawing. So it would refresh and it would have the new page number before it plotted. So so you can use this interface and renumber all of your pages, elevations, and have like A102. Set that to elevations, renumber. Okay, so one of the, like I said, sorry, getting a little sidetracked, but like I said, one of the irritating things is that you get a page that shows up in the middle. Well, then you have to move it around, you have to renumber all of the pages. If you have more than one sheet in one location, like such as, let's just see if we can copy that. No, okay, so let's, new sheet, drawing template name, okay, create another one, okay, sheet 3, Okay. So now say I want this sheet 3 to instead be actually sheet 102, and I want the other one to be 103. You can right click, rename, renumber. Sheet 3 is going to be A-102. Next, this one is going to be 103. Click OK. Okay. All right, and then refresh. 102, elevations, refresh, 103. That's great. Okay. All right, so that is great. That's good. That's good. Okay, sheet views. All right, everything is set up and available. Okay, so I see a question about cover sheets with extracted data, and that is an advanced feature. You can import and use data from Excel spreadsheets into a table, but I'm not quite prepared to show that today, and I don't know if any of the other techs know of a way to export from Microvellum to an Excel spreadsheet, things that are on things like your spec groups. But if we could find a way to do that, export from spec groups into an Excel file, then you could easily use a table to show that data on your cover sheet. That brings up a nice feature of this. So let me sheet set manager, sheet set template. Okay. This is going to be the title sheet. Okay. Another very, very nice feature of Sheet Set Manager is that it manages your sheets, but it also keeps track of them. You can insert a sheet list table on your cover sheet. If you have standard table styles, you can set one up and it'll look pretty. But by default, it comes in and it shows this. So my title sheet doesn't have a number, but it does have all of the numbers for the other sheets. And once again, these are all linked together. So if you rename, renumber, and this one's now 5. Next, this one is back to its place at 2. And then refresh. Come on. Did I save it? Yeah, I saved it. Let's update table data links. There you go. Done. Everything reorganized, but this one should be up here. Now let's do that again. There you go. Much better. Okay, so something really complicated like a sheet list table, if you insert a new sheet into your documents and then you don't remember to add it to your sheet list table, that could be embarrassing. It's just a little error in there. One other thing that comes up a lot that causes issues or causes those little nitpicky errors is when you rename or retitle an elevation and your elevation blocks don't follow suit. You have to go through your sheet set or all of your drawings and look for your every single time that block was used and change it. But with Sheet Set Manager, you can use the sheet views. Look at this is the view for the plan view. This is our elevation. So anywhere that a viewport and a label has been used, you can come in here, right click, place a callout block. If you use these callout blocks, you can set an elevation callout, drop it in, and if I give my elevation a name, like here. Okay, so this doesn't have an elevation. I'm going to rename the elevation doesn't have a name, so I'm going to renumber it as A, and then regen. And now it says where that is, or which page it's on, but also which elevation it is. So I might want to you can always customize your blocks, but if you use long sheet numbers, then you'd want to make this bigger, or you could even use your own blocks. These are just some that I whipped up to show the different capabilities of these. Speaking of the blocks, it's a kind of a different subject, but these are dynamic blocks. So they've been set up to have certain properties, like you can use simple commands like stretch, modify, mirror, all of those modify commands to modify certain portions of it and give yourself grip points. So that's another great AutoCAD feature that could be used to save a lot of time, because you can imagine trying to select just the arrows and rotate it around the circle, whereas I've just got this button that I could type in any angle that I want to show it at. And same thing for this elevation. I can stretch the portions of the block that I want to stretch, but leave it all together and grab it without having to do a whole lot of finicky stuff. We have a question from Matt Stansbury, so thank you for that question. It does split up multiple files across, well, I've set all of these to one location, so the sheet set manager files are all here. These are each and every DWG for every sheet that I've created. And then this is in the normal location, the factory database, and this is just the name of the project. So these are the two files. This is just the one that I had before, and then this is the annotated version that I created. So the SSM files are spread across many different drawings, but Sheetset Manager has plot settings built into it so that you can publish the entire DWG, the entire PDF. So that's kind of like the last thing that you're going to end up doing with your sheet set. So I was kind of saving that to the end, but you can definitely plot to PDF or to a plotter. Another very helpful portion of that is that you can plot with overrides. So if you have a way that you like to plot them, you just have to set that up once, and then you can override any of the settings in each local file in order to plot them out the way that you wanted them to come out. So yeah, that is also a very good point, Matt, that it could save you a lot of overhead on file size, because you can split up all of your pages onto different sheets. And then same thing's true of all of your drawings in the Microvellum project. If you put each room on a separate drawing, then people can access those at different times and make their modifications without running into read-only problems. So Sheetset Manager is a great tool, especially when combined with dynamic blocks and annotative scaling. They're just so powerful when they all work together, but also they are available to use separately. You don't have to necessarily use annotative scaling if you're using Sheetset Manager. You don't have to, you could just start out by learning dynamic blocks and everything that can go into dynamic blocks. You just set them up, you right click in block editor, and you could do a lot with that. Okay, let me look back. I got off track a little bit, but there is a lot to say about this. Okay, so I have a sheet set. I can, like I said, you can publish. We're going to publish to PDF. I'll just put this in the same folder. SSM demo, PDF, select, and it's going to go through. If I don't have them open, it'll open them, and that takes a little bit more time. But I plotted it to this folder. I've got PDF, and one of the really cool things, and that's why I was saving like the best for the last, is that when you have a sheet set that's been plotted through Sheetset Manager, it creates hyperlinks to every location where there was a piece of live data. So I can click on A101 and it takes me to A101. And if I click on A102, it'll take me to A102. And this is just everything working together in harmony. It works great, all of the stuff together, because Microvellum is working together with AutoCAD. AutoCAD's working together with the PDF creators, Adobe, and you can use so much of these tools to your own advantage, and all you have to do is learn how. Yes, Tom had a good question about XREFs. Yes, those are all XREFs from other drawings. So yeah, so this is the original drawing. You've got the plan view. That's an XREF of the original. If you go to model space, you can see it. But if at all possible, I would recommend staying out of the model space for each of your sheets until, to your own discretion. But those make all of your changes in your original drawing. That way you can keep track of where that change is. Okay, so other little tips and tricks. Okay, so like I said, you can import from Excel, but I don't have an Excel spreadsheet set up at the moment. It works the same way as, I was just looking at the title sheet. It is a data link. So if you set up data links, you can set up a data link to outside files. And if you set up one to an Excel document, you can then plot the results of that document, or even just a named range, which is usually how I'll do it, is set up a named range in your Excel document and then reference that Excel document through the named range through a table. And then every time you hit this right click, update data links, it'll read that table and update everything that's in it. Okay. Also, there's a little helpful button down here that will alert you if a data link has updated. If you've saved the Excel file since the last time you updated your data links, it will pop up with a little alert saying that you might need to update your data links from here. So these are some of the very powerful and very helpful things that AutoCAD has built into its program, but we find there's some tech support questions that come in, and people aren't really aware of where AutoCAD begins, or where Microvellum begins and AutoCAD ends. So a lot of times, one of the general rules is just anything that's done within this interface is an it's a Microvellum feature, but anything that's in the ribbon, any other flyouts, toolbars that don't come from the Microvellum toolbox, those are AutoCAD features, and you can find a lot of help. You can find a lot of help on the on websites just about AutoCAD. So if you search for help and tips on that, you can generally find a question or you find an answer to your question without having to submit a tech support ticket to Microvellum, and then us recommend that you look for an answer or submit a tech support ticket on the AutoCAD website. But we do have a pretty good knowledge of AutoCAD, and generally we answer those questions if we have the answer ready. But sometimes you can find it for yourself, and it's pretty easy that way. All right. So let's see. Okay. So
hey, Joe,
yep,
Joe,
go ahead.
Before you get too much further, it looks like we might have a little bit of delay there on your screen share. You might want to minimize that the Windows Explorer there, perhaps, or maybe even reshare your screen.
Okay.
That way we see an updated version. We're kind of
I did move it. Yeah, I did move it. Okay, so let me stop and restart the share.
Yep.
How's that?
We're back in business.
Okay. All right. So if you can see my mouse, that's a good thing. All right. So I hadn't moved or I've just been rambling on for a bit there. So hopefully you didn't miss much. Um, okay. So yeah, so this is where I'm at. And so just talking about things in the toolbar and things that are in here are from Microvellum, but generally things outside of that toolbar are AutoCAD features. And you could find help on AutoCAD site. So we talked a little bit, talked about pretty much everything with Annotative Scaling, Sheet Set Manager, Dynamic Blocks, but there are other helpful features that you can learn more about that are mostly related to AutoCAD, but they'll have a great impact on your end product if you learn how to use model space, but then keep it separate from what you're doing in paper space, and find a clear demarcation of when you want to put things in model space and then when you want to do your paper space layouts and where you put objects either there or back, because you can put dimensions in model space and that works great, and I especially because Microvellum will do it for you. But if you start putting like your plan view labels in model space and maybe your elevation view labels in model space, then they run into the potential for those to show up on multiple pages when really they only relate to one page. So that's a general rule of thumb for that's a general rule of thumb for deciding when something should be in paper space or when it should be in model space. The question about the blue rectangles, that's our new template for version, what did I say? It was 46.2. So we just trying to help with people putting things in the same place every time. Our new template has a little area for your plan views. These are just rectangles in model space, so feel free to keep them or move them around, make them bigger, because we know not every project's going to fit inside this box. But if you do place them in this box on your room 1, here it goes. Okay, so if you do place your plans in this plan box, your elevations in this elevation box, and your details in this details box, they'll already be on your in your viewport on the pages. So plan view, elevation view, these were set up already, and right out of the box they work just fine when I created this drawing. So I didn't set up these viewports or do anything with them, but you can already see the plan view, the elevation, and all of that is set. Okay, so that's the rectangles.
Hey, Joe, I had another question. I'm not sure if this is going to throw you off or anything.
Sure.
But one of the things that we get a lot question about is how those dimensions are automatically on there, and what are the ways we, one of the things we did in advertising for today's event, we talked about, automated shop drawings or 2D drawings, and so how do those get on there, and what if people wanted to add more? What if they wanted to limit the amount of manual annotations that they want to add to their drawings?
Yeah, so one of the really nice features of the newest library, I think it was a few libraries back, but we've added a few more of those type of drawing tokens is what they're called. So if I add a finished end to this cabinet, it's going to put some dimensioning on the side of that. Look, my ADJ is back. Okay, so you've got a finished end, and it's interesting, it didn't. Okay, so I'll show you how. So if you go into Part Properties and you hit that cabinet, so these are what's called drawing tokens, and you have you can find them under the prompts, and you have plan view, elevation, cross section, elevation section, and plan section. So you can put these in all of the Microvellum generated views. So if you wanted to, in our case, we're putting one on the elevation view for this product. Now you could put one within a subassembly. Actually, that would be a better idea, is to put it within the subassembly so that the subassembly, everywhere that subassembly is used, rather than just in this one product, it would show that. So let's do show properties of the subassembly. Elevation view, Okay, so we already have a draw text token. If we have color labels on, so that must be your color label for your plan. And then we've got one here for show finished end text. So this is very similar to what we want. We've got a finished end, and we want to put a dimension line on that finished end. So here we go. We want to right click, add, and we're going to add dimension. There it is. Okay. Let's get rid of that end. There we go. Okay, so we've got to draw dim. Now, if we want it to turn on and off with the finished end, and we've already got a token that does that, the draw text. So one of the things that I keep in mind is that Microvellum's built on a few different building blocks, one of AutoCAD and the second is Excel. So these are Excel formulas, and if you look up Excel help text, you can find out what an if statement does, what those statements do. But in this case, I just really, I know it does what I want it to do because the draw text shows up and it writes this finished end every time there's a finished end. So it's probably what I'm looking for. So what I'm going to do is replace instead of draw text, I'm going to have it draw dim. Okay, and then apply. Great. It doesn't look like it changed anything, but now if I hit the prompt button for show finished end text, or if I hit the right finished end, it will turn on and turn off. So basically that's what I've done with that. All right, so then you've got a few other properties. Start X. So the start X for this one, well, the origin for this product is in the bottom left corner. That's standard, that's typical, that's just what it's always been, is bottom left corner. So my start X, I want it to start way over here because this is the right side. If I was doing the left, I could leave it at 0, but if I'm moving way over here in X, I need it to be equals width. And then let's double check it. Yeah, width is 18, width is 18. Great. X, it's going to move over 18. Now the start Y. So start Y. This is a good case in point of having to know where you are in order to know where you're going. So I circled this bottom left corner because that's the origin for the cabinet, but I'm currently in a subassembly. So that origin for that subassembly is not here. It's actually up here. So I can double check that, and I probably should. So let's double check that by looking at parts and nope. Okay, let's show properties of this. So two-door base, subassemblies, carcass base. The Y origin is 0. So no, I was wrong. It's a good thing I checked. So the Y origin here for the carcass base is 0. So I do need to move up tokic height. So let's go back to prompts, elevation view, draw text, and properties. I don't think it saved what I'd done already, but that's all right. I can redo it real quick. Elevation view. So delete, add, draw dim, okay. Text. Okay, draw dim. Apply. Okay. Start X equals width. Repetition for emphasis, right? Okay. And start Y equals toe kick height. Apply formula. There it goes. Good. Okay. Then end x is going to be the same as my start x because x is over here, and then end x is going to be the height. Apply formula. And my end y is going to be equals height, because we want the full height of this carcass. Okay. All right, so we have an opportunity to enter a leader length. That's going to be something like 6, but I would recommend having a global setup for this. You can do 12. And then dimension text. Well, we're going to want it to actually say the dimension, so let's leave that blank. The dim style, you can set that to whatever style you want to actually use. Comments, layer name, color. So let's draw it. It's going to come in on the 0 layer, but then we can select one of our existing dimensions and set that. So let's save and redraw. Save that. I'm just going to save it to the product at this point. Okay, we got our helpful ADJ text. Erase that. Okay, so show elevation view. Scroll down, draw dim. Okay, draw dim. Thank you. Okay, leader length, dim style. Let's see, what dim style is this? Annotative. Okay. Okay, layer name is dim, because it'll automatically add the 2D in front of it. No comment, no nothing. Okay. Save and redraw. Product again. Okay. Oh, there it is. I need to put in a negative. I didn't see it earlier. I was starting to wonder where it went. Okay, so this is on the title block layer. That's not what we're looking for, but it moved it also 12 inches to the left, so we're looking for a negative dimension in that location. So let's hit the negative. Show properties. Let's prompts elevation. Okay. Draw dim. Okay. So leader length should be negative 12. There it goes. Save and redraw. Okay. There it is. Okay, so it showed up on the outside. Okay, that's actually really easy to fix, but I don't have time. Okay, so we've got that. This is ending up on title block layer and the annotative dim style, so that's good, but it needs to not be on the title block layer. So that's how you can add those, and you could do anything on this list. You could draw a line, draw an arc, polyline, rectangle, circle, text, dim, leader, block, hatch, anything that you find yourself drawing over and over and over and over again, be it in your plan view, your elevation view, cross section, elevation section, plan section, any of those that you're using over and over again, you can automate that, and you could set up prompts in your product and have the prompts trigger it on and off, or you could have it change the size of it, the width of it, anything. Those you can automate your even just your 2D drafting using these tools and make it easier on yourselves, on your drafters, and save you time in the long run. So does that fully answer your question, Clay?
Oh, it totally does.
Okay.
Beyond what I was expecting. I know you weren't prepared with an example of how to do that, but I think that gives a good understanding of how using these tools you can go through your products and set this up once. That way, when you're in the process of going through job after job after job, you can save yourself tons of time by letting the software work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Once
Definitely.
you set it up.
Definitely. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, Joe, for helping us out with this topic today. Definitely a lot of good information for us all to review. Well, so did you like what you saw today? If you are not yet a Microvellum user, or if you have not fully embraced these tools as a user, we hope that today's event helped you realize some of the benefits there in using Microvellum in your drafting processes. And if you're ready to take your skills to the next level, we are preparing an online training course for you where we will cover drafting with Microvellum in greater detail. We'll be covering some topics like the fundamentals of drafting, and then we'll be going beyond the basics where we dive deep into topics like Annotative Scaling and Sheet Set Manager, some of the things that we reviewed today, but in greater depth. In this 4-day training, we're going to split this up into 3.5-hour courses. You will be introduced to building custom products, parametric products, as well as using our solid modeling tools for building some custom products. So this is definitely a great option for users to take advantage of. This is the first of many training courses that we'll start offering on our website online. On a Zoom platform similar to what we are in today. And so for more information on that and registration, you can visit our website shortly, where we'll be posting the events and the topics, times, and places, things like that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and launch our performance poll. And if you are interested in attending or even learning more about this event, go ahead and let us know there in our performance poll, and you should see that active now. I just have one other thing to tell you about. On December 14th, we will be partnering with Lockdown and Laguna for a 1-day workshop in Irvine, California. And you can learn more about this event on our website. Also, as a reminder, we've had a lot of new people on today. In fact, this was probably one of our most popular events that we've had in quite a while, based on the number of people that tuned in here today. And these live hour-long events are hosted weekly. We cover the topics ranging from the basics of our software to the advanced aspects of what we do. And we even have guest speakers from time to time from partnering vendors such as tooling companies, industry associations like the AWI or CMA, or even laser measurement systems. So if you liked what you saw in today's presentation, we would like to invite you again next week, where we will be having another live educational event on a topic presented by one of our product specialists. And so I'd like to thank you once again for joining us today, and I hope you have a great rest of your week, and we will catch you on our next Microvellum Live event.